Hey guys, Frank Hodashek here. I got tape delayed on my phone, so we're gonna do a little live tonight. It's been a while, man. I gotta try to. Life's chaotic. I need to try to get a set time and do it no matter what. Who knows? Tuesday at 8 o'clock might be it. So got me a new hat at Cabela's. Looks a little crooked, but I think my head's crooked. So, but cool little hat, $15. So pretty funny, I think. Um, yeah, I was messing with this StreamYard that I got here, trying to get it all figured out. I was trying to link up different sites, YouTube. I think I have, of course, this is my main page. And I want to say I have my Frank Hodashek Fishing on Facebook as well. Yeah, I'm live there too. I think I need a few more followers on YouTube. I want to say it's probably 1,000 followers. You can go live, so I don't think it's going to play on there. Still got to figure out Instagram. Instagram, you're allowed to go live too, but so yeah. So I'm up on, of course, my main Frank Hodashek page, and then Frank Hodashek Fishing page as well. So we're going to give it a few minutes. I wanted to get this started earlier, but I had to go let dogs out. All my daughters in Wichita and make sure the kids are quiet. So we got a full house. We have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people in the house, 3 dogs, 6 cats right now. So hopefully it's temporary. It's going to be temporary. But nope. So yeah, tonight I'm going to be talking about what's ruining crappie fishing or perceived to be ruining crappie fishing. If there's any guides that are watching, you guys want to jump on, let me know. Send me a text or a Facebook message, should pop up on my phone, and I'll invite you on, and we'll get the current status of your lake, what you guys think it's like, since most of you guys are out there every day. Right now, I'm still just a temporary guide, trying to guide more this year and in the future, fishing less tournaments. So, I've been seeing a lot over the years. Well, let me start off here by anything I say in this live feed is my own comments, my own opinions. Doesn't represent my sponsors. Doesn't represent my family or friends. So anything I say is mine and mine alone. Really, I think it's pretty simple, but we're going to delve into this monster of ruining lakes, especially for crappie fishing. But I've been hearing it with bass fishing too, which really blows my mind, since really not many people keep black bass, largemouth, smallmouth, any of those type to eat. There is a few select people that like eating them. To me, I don't eat them because there's crappie, walleye, bluegill, catfish. I heard wiper, hybrid stripers are good. That's just here in the Midwest. I'm sure there's other species that's probably taste better than bass, that you don't have to soak in lemon juice or anything else. So, yeah. So with that being said, I got to make sure I got my comments up. Be tracking that. Somebody text me, or somebody put a comment on here. Let me know that you guys hear me. I see. It looks like one comment on my Facebook. But I don't see it on StreamYard. Well, anyways, we're gonna roll with it here. So, again, if you guys got questions, I got answers. Probably be more opinion based. Not going to stand on factual unless it's a fact that's in a publication or something. But I can give you my opinion. Obviously, I fished a lot of tournaments in the last 10 years. I fished a lot around different lakes in the country. So I see 19 people on here. Okay, Tim says you guys see him. I bought a little bit more advanced on the StreamYard so I can share it to multiple platforms. Like I said, I don't think Instagram's working, but I have both my Facebook pages, Frank Hyshek and Frank Hyshek Fishing. And if I actually clicked on it, yeah, my phone's acting stupid. Oh, we got 19 comments. I don't know why it's not showing up on my StreamYard. Yep, I see you guys now. Well, I guess I'm going to have to go to Facebook. Didn't have a problem with this before, so I don't know why it's not. I mean, obviously it's I'm on StreamYard, and it's pushing out to my Facebook, so I don't know why Facebook ain't showing up on here. Oh, there we go. Maybe I got no. That's the basic. Oh, there we go. Nope, it won't let me. I don't know what's wrong with my Facebook. It's not letting me post on. It's not letting me see comments on my main page here. Can't post comments on destinations. All right, we're just gonna roll with it. That's why I keep multiple electronics up so I can. But you guys know me, man. I'm full of problems when it comes to boats and fishing and electronics. So, luckily, I've done as good as I've done in the past with all the issues I had. So, Tom Lloyd, what's up, man? So there's the bass fisherman. Hey, Tom, I'm sure you're seeing a lot of the forward-facing sonar grumbling in the bass world now. A lot of us crappie fishermen kind of find it funny because we've been dealing with it since really probably 2019. By the end of 2019, there was a lot of griping about forward-facing sonar and electronics and everything else. Yeah, Michael. Obviously, most of the guides have no problem with the way the crappie fishing's been going. Thanks, Steven. Yeah, for some reason it's not showing. Zach, I see you saying, hey, Frank, so I'm not sure. Okay, so you're on Frank Hyshek Fishing. Yeah, for some reason it's not allowing me to show comments on StreamYard on my main page. Oh, well, we're going to roll with it. So we're going to dive into this monstrosity of back and forth bickering. Man, I got this from Cabela's, Kurt. So the hat says I'm a fishing legend, so I'll just go with it. Now, you guys know I'm pretty humble. There you go, Nick. Yeah, man. I mean, shoot, unless you're threatening somebody, you're talking about their family, you guys say whatever you want on my streams. Even if it's negative towards me, Facebook, all that, I'm going to leave it up there because one, I want people to see who you really are if you're going to be bad mouthing me or somebody else on my pages. And really, that's about it. But yeah, I mean, you show yourself when you're going to badmouth somebody on a public forum. Yeah, there you go, Tom. Yep. And I'm just going to jump into this. So, what I think is ruining the sport of what's ruining crappie fishing, I got comments, what I posted on my Facebook. A guy said that, what do you say, guides, spider riggers, and tournament fishermen are ruining crappie fishing on Grenada. I really wanted to get one of the Grenada guides on here and see what he thinks about crappie fishing on Grenada now. Yeah, Tim's right there. Said he hadn't seen no things. So I'm gonna get down to it. If there's an issue with fish population on your lake, my opinion is it's the fisherman's fault. It's not live scope. It cracks me up because most of these comments coming about live scope ruining fishing is coming from the same guys that say, don't take away my guns. It's not the guns that kill people. It's the people that kill people. Same thing in fishing. It is the fishermen that will hurt the fish populations if it comes to that. Now, Jojo, Alex, if you guys want to jump on, let me know. You guys explain your current fishing there at Grenada, Sardis, whatever, and give your guide services a plug or whatever. But I'm here to tell you, after being at Grenada, seeing all those fish that I couldn't get to bite, I was having a little bit of electronic issues. I think my 32's old, and it definitely doesn't look as good as what some other people's pictures are. So I'm going to probably be upgrading to a 34 here before my next tournament. But we're going to check that out. But so I could not distinguish fish at Grenada tournament, the size of them. So I had to fish for everything that I saw in hopes of making upgrades throughout the day and hopefully catch a fish. I couldn't tell a pound and a half fish from a 250. So, that's a pound difference. That's 2 inches. Obviously it's going to be taller, thicker. I just cannot tell. So yeah, definitely Tom, definitely probably a lot to do with it. It's probably got as much abuse as I have throughout my life physically. But yeah, so and I've talked to this numerous times. See, I think what happens is there's a few select people that gripe and complain. So those people that complain do not want their guns taken away, but they want live scope taken away. I tell you what, most of the people that I know on the tournament scene, we do not keep as much fish as what people that don't have live scope keep throughout the year. I don't hardly keep anything. Guides, yeah, obviously they keep fish for their clients. Again, those clients are fishing 1 or 2 times a year, most likely. So, I mean, the guides are keeping a lot of fish throughout the year, but it's going towards a paying license holder person to fish in that state. And, that the good thing about that is that the wildlife department can track that pretty easily by going to the guide's page, looking at his pictures. Let's say, assuming at Grenada, they're keeping a limit every day they post pictures. So there's 30 crappie a day. So they can add that up pretty easily. It's the ones that have a license, that don't, aren't prominent on social media. It's harder to track on what they're catching and keeping. Here in Kansas, we have, I think, a 3 times possession limit of our daily creel limit. So 3 or 4 times. So it's 150 or 200 fish you can have in your possession at home at one time. I remember seeing a couple years ago, some guys were at one of those special Kansas lakes, and they had, like, for the week, they had over 700 fish that they could, there was a whole bunch of them. So, because of course, all the comments were like, "Oh my gosh, you guys are way over your limit, this and that." Well, 700 fish, you get, 7 or 8 guys, you're still within your legal limits. But I mean, that's 700-800 fish right there that was taken out in a week by just your regular fishermen. Yeah, Tom, we can hear about some of that. Get some opinions. Let me send you a link here. But yeah, so going back to live scope, in my opinion, it's bull crap about it ruining lakes. I mean, there's no way. Well, first of all, live scope don't ruin anything. It's just a piece of equipment. Again, I liken it to the 2A argument, which I'm a strong proponent of not taking your rights away to own a gun. Matter of fact, it's been proven over and over again. If you look at the statistics that the news don't show because it's not catchy, it's not getting viewerships. That people that own guns in homes save their lives, save other people's lives, stops crime, and is actually deterrence to crime if they know that certain things or places or people will have guns. I mean, you look at any of the shootings that happened around public places, if they were in some kind of building, those buildings had no guns allowed on the front door. So, I mean, if you're a deranged criminal that's wanting to kill a bunch of people, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for easy targets. So in comparison, those people don't want their guns taken away, but they want live scope taken away from you because, 1, they can't afford it. 2, they don't know how to use it. Or 3, they just don't find it fun, which is fine with me. I grew up playing video games. I like electronics, and really, I like seeing fish and be able to challenge to catch them because, I mean, not all fish are biting. We already know that. Anybody that has it. But there's a lot of also other factors. So I got Tom. I'm going to bring him on here in a minute. At Grenada Lake, the biggest problems I think I've seen that hurt the fish population the last 3 or 4 years was not that people were taking fish out. It was that the fish had nowhere to hide. So I believe the previous years there was probably still the same amount of fish being caught. Maybe there was more bigger fish caught in the last 3 or 4 years, but that's again because the water was lower than normal. You didn't have a good high water year that allowed those fish to get up in the farmers' fields and all those bushes and stuff and hide and be protected. Again, you also, I believe at Grenada, you have a lot of fish that get sucked down through the dam during the drawdown. I believe there was rumors going around. One of the biologists said that there was more fish that went through the spillway than that was caught on Grenada. Some other reasons why people that don't have forward-facing sonar ain't catching fish is because forward-facing sonar has changed fish behavior. I mean, that's got to be a fact. It's my opinion, but I believe that's a fact. Because you look at Grenada, the main way of fishing was spider rigging, and you were always moving. So those fish can move out of the way if they got spooked, and then you were gone, and then they'd stay in the area and still do whatever they were doing in that area. Now, if you chase a fish and you look, you'll start seeing circles where that fish did the same thing as when you were spider rigging and never got caught, but now you're chasing it. And so now that fish is like, now I got to do something different. So now that fish is taking off, going somewhere else. And so even when those biologists go and do their netting and fish surveys, there's a real possibility those fish have left from years and years and years of being in those certain areas, and they've just left because of the fishing pressure. Now, I guess that would be scope related, but it's not because they've taken the fish out of the lake. It's because the fish have adapted to our behaviors using forward-facing sonar versus the older techniques of spider rigging or single pulling. You don't get a bite, you move on. Kevin Rogers, run and gun style of fishing. So I'm going to bring on Tom. He fishes bass, so his take's going to be a little bit different because, one, it's still pretty new for the bass fishing world, and two, it's a little bit different fishing. Crappie fishing, a lot of times you got to be pretty close to their nose. Bass fishing, you can sometimes be a little bit you can be off a little bit and still catch a bass. So they're willing to chase it more further away than what a crappie normally is. So I'm going to bring him on. I'm going to ask him some questions on what he thinks. Mainly, Lake of the Ozarks. He fishes that a lot. So,
what's up, Frankie?
Not much. What's up, Tom?
How are you?
Pretty good. Good for you to join.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
glad I got on that page that you sent me.
Yeah, no, all good. No, I appreciate you letting me jump on here, and I'm always learning. I definitely bass fish more than I crappie fish, but one of the takes I had just kind of as you were talking there, and what I was thinking about is, I crappie fish a lot, just not like necessarily like you guys do so much as far as, dabbing them and, chasing them around live scope. But I mean, just in general, obviously use live scope, dock shooting, open water fish. But honestly, I think since I started using live scope, I'd say I probably keep a lot less fish, just in general, because I know I can go out and catch them. You know what I mean? I don't have to stock my freezer up for a bunch of, having a bunch of fish out there. So I think that's one benefit, in my opinion, to live scope, is I know I can go out at any given day pretty much and go catch as many crappie as I need to eat. And then I'm not stocking my freezer up all the time because I think it's the last time I'm going to catch a crappie. So that's one thing. From the standpoint of the bass fishing, I don't know what, I'm not a huge live scoper like this minnow game and everything that everybody's doing right now, but it definitely, I mentioned, you guys are all of what I've been watching with, I've been a part of Beatdown since pretty much the beginning. And, that was a lot in the crappie world to start with. And we're obviously moving into the bass world, but since the beginning, I've watched all the dynamics of the live scope and kind of the tournaments and how that's gone. And it's funny to see that it's really starting to pick up in the bass world now, the same exact way that it happened before. You got haters, you got people that hate live scope, you got people that love live scope, and then you got all that clashing. And it's, I don't know if it's good for the sport. I don't think it's good for the sport. I think it's I think good publicity, or all publicity is good publicity, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? So
yeah, definitely. I think and I wouldn't say, obviously people have two sides. They either like live scope, don't like live scope, or forward facing sonar. But I think social media is what's hurt the sport more than anything.
For sure.
I'm starting to see these professional bass fishermen getting on social media and complaining, where, that's where the crappie world, you get the professional crappie fishermen saying, well, you need to be more like the professional bass fishermen, keep us your opinions to yourself, keep them off social media. And now I'm seeing like Zaldane. I mean, he's not afraid to say whatever he wants nowadays.
Yeah.
And then you're seeing a couple others that I was surprised when I seen some of their posts coming out, griping about, not only the subject of fishing, but really coming out and griping about the tournament trails themselves, which I figured was a big no-go in the bass fishing world.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely doesn't hurt or doesn't help your reputation. That's for sure. So in the crappie tournament world, is it gaining any sort of traction with any of these tournaments having non-live scope tournaments, or has that kind of went by the wayside?
Oh, excuse me, say again.
So like the tournaments that allow live scope, or have there been any that have banned it, and have they been successful in doing that at all? Because
No.
the ones I saw, they didn't seem like they were successful whatsoever.
No, Crappie USA has a separate division this year for non-live scope, so you can't use it pre-fishing for the week. I'm hoping they can police that, because as we've seen, there's guys out there that's going to find a way to get an advantage that might be cheating, breaking the rules and stuff like that. So I don't know how they're going to police that to make sure they're not using a live scope during the week, but it is what it is. I mean, we're seeing the no sharing information in the bass world. We've had a couple people already being DQ'd. One in the tournament, caught on camera. Yep. I mean, obviously, I think that was, just talking, trying to find out, obviously he wasn't going to go over to where the other fisherman was if the camera guy told him, yeah, he's catching them or he's on them or whatever. But, I don't think it was intentionally trying to gain an advantage. But, good thing is that, these tournament trails are holding up to the rules that they set. And if they say you can't get information from a non-competitor, then you can't blame nobody but yourself on that one.
Exactly. I'd like to get your take. You're talking about the biologist and whatnot at Grenada, and how it was shocking to me to hear you talking about them going through the dam or the spillway or whatnot. But I fished a lot up north and Minnesota, specifically ice fishing and a little bit of summertime fishing too. And it's the most conservative lake limits and such that they have out there. And what's interesting to me is that all this talk about live scope and that it's hurting the fish population and this and that, but yet they haven't changed the lake limits. They haven't changed how many fish you're able to keep, able to possess. 30 fish, 50 fish. I don't know what the highest number of the lake anywhere around, but obviously they're doing their job out there to see. And are they getting harder to catch? Yeah, maybe. But we weren't ever catching those fish that were out in the middle. And if you were spider rigging or doing something like that. But on the bass side, the same way. I mean, those fish that guys are catching now are fish that we just thought disappeared and we assumed they swam out in the middle of the lake, but had no way to target them. But I mean, I think until these biologists and the conservation departments, and Texas Parks and Wildlife is a great example. I mean, they have one of the best conservation programs in the entire United States, and they're not changing limits on lakes, to my knowledge. And if they are, it's not being publicized very well. So I really feel like the numbers aren't being hurt by it. I think maybe you're getting some of those bigger fish that maybe shouldn't be harvested, but that's a debate too, I think. And the big thing, Tim, can you elaborate on that a little bit? They changed the limits on the core lakes in Mississippi.
Yeah. So obviously a lot of the guides aren't happy about it. So Mississippi, about, 7 or 8 months ago, on Grenada, Sardis, Enid, change the limits to 10 crappie per person and 30 per boat, where it used to be 15 and 40 or 15 and 45.
Yeah.
So I believe what they did, and that's another reason I wanted to do this live broadcast, is I believe they were listening to those people that were griping that I can't catch fish anymore. I'll tell you what, the main thing what everybody said, and then arguably what most people agree is the best crappie fisherman, Hayden Jeffrey, who won a tournament this last weekend, he had said if only the big ones would have bit. That was one of his comments. So, you know, he was obviously seeing bigger fish, and he won the tournament. Almost probably 280, 285 average per crappie. But, you know, during the Crappie Masters event, that's what a lot of us were like, man, if, you know, I mean, again, I couldn't size them up, but there was fish that wouldn't bite. But a lot of guys that knew there was some 3-pounders couldn't get them bite. And it was different from the Yala Beluga to the Schooner side. You know, Yala Beluga got beat up all week, and one of the competitors after tournament said that, day one. Well, actually, he said at the weigh-in day one, I started in an area, couldn't get those big fish to bite. Luckily, I moved over to the other side and upgraded like 3 or 4 of his 5 fish on the other side. So, so there's big fish in Grenada, and I think what a lot of these biologists are listening to is the people that gripe the most. I mean, that's, you know, usually the people that are unhappy and having complaint are going to be your loudest people. And I think these wildlife departments need to step back. And what I'm not seeing is I don't really see the use of getting information from the people that are fishing every day on these lakes. You know, they go out and shock the fish, check, see how many, what size they are, and then it seems like they make a base of judgment off of that, along with the people that go gripe and complain to them. So I think Grenada's strong right now, and I think the main reason it was down was, again, because I think 2020 was the last time the lake really got flooded, and so it's been low, and those fish haven't been able to go up there and hide and lay their eggs. That probably could have hurt some spawn there for a year or two. Obviously, if they don't have as much good protective structure, like 2020, it was up in farmers' fields. So, I mean, those crappie had all those bushes and weeds and everything that they could have laid their eggs, and that would have protected the fry a lot better. So last 4 or 5 years, they didn't have that. But again, I mean, based from last year to this year, I mean, last year the guides, they were posting so-and-so had a 2-pounder. And I'm like, holy cow, maybe Grenada is hurting pretty bad. You know, still thinking, in my opinion, it was because of the environment, not because people have live scope nowadays.
Right.
But it's back, even with all that fishing pressure. It's coming back, and I don't know how many posts I've seen with people catching 3-pounders all over the country this year, where they haven't been. You haven't seen those posts the last 2 or 3 years, so I don't understand how live scope's hurting fishing. Now, of course, Nick Neff commented on there, which I shared it earlier. He was on the development team, it looks like, for forward-facing sonar, and he's saying the average everyday fisherman's keeping way more fish than they ever could. So, again, that goes to my comment that it's not forward-facing sonar, it's the fishermen. I think the conservation departments need to be teaching conservation more.
That's right.
You know? I mean, if an everyday fisherman gets live scope, guess what? You don't have to keep your limit every day. You go out now. You have forward-facing sonar. You still might not get them to bite, but you can go put that forward-facing sonar down, and you will see where the fish are at, and your chances of limiting out that day, if you want, are much higher.
Yeah, and I I think I would challenge everybody on this stream and everybody else that's paying attention to this whole conversation. I mean, there's a lot of guys, and I'm going to use the up north example again, but there's a group of guys that are on the Crappie Chronicles, and they do a lot of ice fishing, and they just started a whole movement this year that's called Crappie Chronicled, hashtag Crappie Chronicled, and what they're doing is they're doing giveaways for any photo, release video, and hero shot that anybody does that's a 13 to, anything 13 plus crappie, so, and up there that's a big one, so down your all's way, and what you catch, Frank, I know that's a little baby, but the whole point is I think it's our responsibility, regardless of anything else, whether you like live scope, don't like live scope, whatever the case may be, is to help educate these people and help educate the folks. I mean, you're going to still have those bad eggs out there that are going to poach deer at night, and they're going to shoot way too many deer, and that has nothing to do with the rifle. That has to do with the integrity of the person that's actually keeping way too many fish than they need, or whatever, that's going to go freezer burn that they're never going to eat. If they're going to eat them all, hey, if they're catching their limit every day and they're eating every one of them, providing for their family, more power to them. But as well as I do, that's not what's happening all the time. And, I think the conservation starts with us as anglers in the public that are willing to speak out and, help educate. And there's a lot of people that just don't understand, and that's okay. But we can do our part. And like I said, I challenge every one of you guys that's on here, gals, whoever's on here, to make sure that we're educating those folks to say, hey, you don't need to keep all the big ones, or you don't need to keep 30 today. Maybe just keep 15 or 10 or 5 or whatever the case may be. 5 crappies a lot for a family. If you really sit and think about it, when you knock the sides off that thing, you got 2 fillets and you cut them in 2, that's 4,
Yeah.
that's enough for a man, even my fat ass. So, you know what I mean? So,
that's again, that's the main problem is the people. And Nick, yeah, I'm sure you're right. Well, I mean, everybody, the problem is, everybody has the capability to limit out every day. One, there's laws against keep what you can keep. 2, if you're eating that much fish, you probably need to go see a doctor, because your mercury levels are probably way out of bounds, and you're probably going to get sick. And then 3, it's there are those people out there, but I think a lot of them are being offset by the people that don't keep fish every day, because they know they can go out and catch whatever they want for the most part.
That's right.
And those people that bought live scope and are keeping their limits every day, those are the same ones that were out there during the spawn, keeping, like on Hillsdale Lake in Kansas, keeping 8-9 inch fish, throwing them in a bucket when the length limit's 10 inches, and then probably keeping more than their 15 or 20 that's allowed there. So, or that, or going out, keeping them, taking them back to the house, and coming back out during the spawn.
Right.
And, catching multiple limits each day for one license holder.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I wish my main page would show these dang comments. Carlos, he's another guy down there in Mississippi. He said our biologists shock survey in 4 to 5 feet of water in May, and then say we have a population problem. So again, that's
a big deal.
I think that kind of proves my saying that these biologists, they're doing great work. They're trying to keep on top of it, but man, a week out of a year shock surveying something where you think historically these fish are at, or, I don't know if they consider the temperature, lake level, all that stuff when they go to do it. I don't know if they're shocking in the same areas, but you just can't base that off of a limited sampling and do that. You need to be talking to the guides on the lakes and seeing what they're doing and seeing what they're seeing. I mean, I believe a lot of the guides at certain lakes, if there's a bunch of big fish around, there might be some guys that don't really go around those big fish because it's hard for them to say no to their clients. I mean, Grenada, I wouldn't want to have my clients want to keep freaking 10, 15 fish over 3 pounds. Again, that goes to the conservation, which a lot of the guides down at Grenada have been very good at. They started that between Grenada and Lake Fort. All those guides started getting in the movement of releasing those big fish to at least finish their spawn, and that's my opinion too. Is I'm saying, because you hear biologists here in Kansas, we had at Cabela's, we had a seminar, and one of the biologists was there, and he brought up a very good point, and I've seen it on social media before. It's like, how much longer do those big fish have to live? Are they going to die, a week after you release it? Are they going to die within the year because of how big they are? So, their time span is going to be a lot shorter. And what I tried teaching my clients was, hey, let's let these big fish go because they're full of eggs. Let's let them get spawned out. If we catch a big fish in the summertime, then if you want to keep them, that's fine, because they might not make it to the next spawn. Who knows? But obviously, if they catch a big giant one, 2.5 to 3 pounds, I'm really encouraging those guys to let them go, especially during spawn time, to give them a chance at least spawn and start that reproduction cycle. And hopefully the next generation of crappie in the next 4 or 5 years will be just as big.
Yeah, I totally agree. And there's a lot of comments I was trying to just flip through here, but I mean, ultimately, Frank, you got it on your boat. I got a couple on my boat. I sell graph mounts for Beat Down Outdoors. We wouldn't have Beat Down Outdoors without live scope, and we won't if there is no more live scope. So the fact of the matter is, I'm a huge proponent of live scope, but the fact of the matter is I think the biggest thing is, like you said, I mean, we need to not only educate ourselves, but I just wonder how many biologists, like you're talking about, that we could help influence, or help understand what they're doing and why they're doing what they're doing. And maybe there's a logical reason why they're shocking in 5 foot. Maybe it's easier. I don't know. But obviously they know where fish are, hopefully. And, it's one of those deals that I think the conversation is good. It's got to be productive, and it has to be, civil, and it's got to be, educated. And, I'm not the most educated on it, I'll admit that, but I'm here to listen to opinions and help understand and educate those that don't. That's the big thing to me.
Yeah, I mean, like a prime example, like Kansas here, they did a study on the effects of forward-facing sonar a few years ago, and talking to the biologist a couple of weeks ago, he'd said they'd used they didn't want, I guess, experienced forward-facing sonar users, because they wanted to see what your average day fisherman would do. And I mean, the difference between your everyday fisherman with live scope, or new to live scope, or new to forward-facing sonar, it wasn't much difference between the catches between the people not using forward-facing sonar. But again, that survey is kind of skewed, which I don't know. I guess for me, it was kind of good, because if they would have used people like me or other guides in Kansas that have really mastered, or the tournament fishing that have mastered forward-facing sonar pretty well, then I'm pretty sure those numbers would have been a night and day difference. And I would have been afraid, without talking to the guys that fish almost every day, that care about conservation and care about fishing, they would have probably made a rash decision to change limits and everything else that might not have needed it. And there's certain lakes out there that really don't need restrictions on them. Like our biologist said, like my lake I mainly guide on, El Dorado, they don't think it has as many fish as some of the other lakes, but they have bigger fish, and that's because, it's not overpopulated and stunted. Whereas like some of the smaller lakes around Wichita, they have all kinds of crappie in them, but they're all 9 to 10 inches because there's just too many in there, trying to forage the same food.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I would love to learn more about that and what really makes a healthy lake? Is it a lot of big ones and not very many small ones? Is it a lot of little ones and not very many big ones? What makes sense? But I mean, if they'd have shocked the lake up at Lake of the Ozarks this past week, and then polled the tournament fishermen that were out there, we just said there's no bass left in the lake. But we know that they're in there, and if they would have shocked them, they would have found them all. And same goes with the crappie. There was a lot of guys that I talked to about crappie fishing. We could get information in the tournament, so it didn't matter. But talked to about crappie fishing, they're like, we can't even get these things to bite. Well, if they would have done that study that week, they would have thought that there's no more fish in that lake. But if they went and shocked it, they'd have been like, they're all right here. They're just full because we had a shad kill. And it's that timing, and it has to be all of those different variables that someone's got to look at and say, this is why, this is why, this is why, as opposed to just taking one little piece of the puzzle. Everything.
Definitely. Yeah, I'd like to see the biologists reach out to these guides, and it sounds like Texas. Jerry Hancock and some of the guys do a live video every week on there, and they had a biologist on there, and Jerry commented that our biologist on Fork says we are a long way from hurting the population, and that's probably some of their shocking and stuff too, but it's probably also because they talk to Jerry and a lot of the other guides on Lake Fork and get their opinions, or they see their social media posts. I mean, I'd see Jordan Sanders when he's out there guiding with a limit of fish and a lot of decent sized ones, and giving out his 2 pound and 3 pound. I don't even remember what the good enough ranch tags or whatever he gives out to clients. So, but yeah, Alex Hall says he's seen and caught more big fish on Grenada than since 2022. And then, most of the guys are throwing those big fish back. So, yeah, again, I think a lot of it had to do with, that high water, and maybe the high water protected some of those bigger fish, but it could have also at the same time, because Grenada, the Corps don't care about the fishing. They care about flood control. So, I mean, even 2020, that flood might have protected those bigger fish, but it could have actually hurt the spawn by having it up so high. And a lot of those fish might not have actually released most of their eggs because they're like, what am I doing in a freaking cornfield? Trying to spawn and stuff like that. So, that might have hurt the last couple years too. I mean, there's so many different factors that unless you have somebody looking at each of those factors, you'll never know what the true answer is. But I guarantee you it's not forward-facing sonar.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. Did you catch Tim said he would be interested in jumping on here? I don't know if he's still out there, but
no, I didn't.
He said a little while ago he'd be interested in jumping on.
Some of his comments, but yeah, and Carlos said there ain't nobody catching limits on Grenada every day. But again, we've seen that those fish are just not biting. Now, I think a lot of it right now has to do with those fish haven't seen a boat in 2 or 3 months when the drawdown happened and you couldn't get a boat on Grenada. And now all of a sudden, you throw a Crappie Masters tournament 3 weeks earlier and, you get 1 or 2 guides out there and start sharing on social media their catches. Now, people are booking with the rest of the guides and people are driving down just fun fishing. Then you have the Crappie Masters tournament. Now all these fish are seeing 100 boats a day and they're freaking out because now like, well, I don't know what this is, man. I got to move. It's a predator up above me.
Yeah. So, what's your take? What's your take on the sonar beam, affecting their mood or their attitude or things like that?
Yeah, I think, obviously it's got to hit a solid object and come back with a return. And we know, based off of different hardness, it'll give a brighter whatever. So I mean, obviously, I think those fish, especially using their lateral lines to feel, you know, lateral lines, I guess, are for sensing waves, put off by fish movement. So, they got to feel the beam, and I think they're. I don't know if they're smart enough to say, well, that's forward facing sonar hitting me, but I think they at least know, hey, that's something new. That's something that I don't like. It's maybe it'd be cool to see a scientist try to delve into that subject matter and say, hey, is that beam hitting a crappie resembling like a big catfish moving in the water?
Yeah, exactly.
And then, it'd be like, a bat. A bat's throwing off his sonar can tell the difference between a fly and a wall. And so they don't run into a wall, but they go and open their mouth and eat a fly.
Yeah, absolutely. I tried experimenting with it up ice fishing a little bit, and the cool thing ice fishing, I know it's nothing to do with what you're talking about right now, but just the whole live scope thing, because you could have that on forward and it's stable. It's not moving. There's no boat. It's just stable as can be. You can see everything just as clear as you could ever want to because nothing's moving, right?
Yeah.
And so when you have it in forward mode and you're sitting there in your ice shack or whatever it is, those fish, and I don't know if it's coincidence or whatever, but you'll see them. They'll be cruising in, and then all of a sudden they'll either stop and either turn around or kind of veer off, and then you lose them in the beam there. Well, what I kind of found, and it doesn't really, it could have been the time of day, it could have been anything, but we put it in down mode instead of forward, and what we found is that they became way more aggressive towards the baits. So what we were fishing was Lake Winnipeg, and it was a really dirty lake, so we were using like rattle traps, a big rattle bait, and ripping it, yanking it up and down, and so they're feeling that vibration from the bait. And when they would come in and you would catch their beam, the beam would catch them on the down imaging, they would be way more aggressive and more interested in biting than even those fish that would kind of cruise in. And even if they would keep coming and cruise in and you get their attention, they wouldn't bite it near as much. But those fish on that down mode, I think they were already committed so much before they got in the beam. And this is just total speculation because I don't know what a fish does and I don't know how a fish feels, but it was just interesting to watch that with the best constant, with that sampling where nothing else was happening. There was one single transducer and no boat noise, no motor noise, no other transducers going on, no, noise outside, and just seeing how they react. And everybody says, what are you doing ice fishing? You should be down here fishing or crappie fishing or whatever. And I'm like, well, you can learn a lot about a fish just sitting there fishing for whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that's why I love crappie fishing so much when I'm bass, in the bass time, even still, because I learn a lot with forward facing sonar and how to apply it elsewhere.
Yeah.
I ran down a couple weeks ago and got in the boat with a couple guys down at Eufaula and just took a look at perspective, a little bit, and how does that apply, and how can we apply that to the bass world, and kind of trying to understand what you're seeing, what you're looking for, what you're looking at. And they admittedly didn't know anything about bass and what a bass does, but it's one of those things where I think you can learn a lot from behavior. And then again, just going back to the conservation part of it, we just got to do a better job there. So I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. I think conservation is the key of keeping any lake successful and populated. I mean,
well, dude, appreciate you having me on here. I just wanted to jump on and get a couple questions answered myself and see what you thought, and appreciate everybody in the comments. And I'm happy to be here. If anybody needs any questions answered from my side of things or anything else you guys need, I'm happy to help or whatever we can do, man.
Yeah, and Tom, he's a bass fisherman, fishes some tournaments, owns his own apparel company. Rogue, how do you find it? Rogue Custom,
RoadCustomApparel.com.
Rogue Custom
All
Apparel.
the channels, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. We make tournament jerseys and sun shirts and anything you can need. We got a darn good waterproof hoodie that's really, really cool. So you need any apparel, any gear for upcoming season, or any of your sponsors need gear to give away or sell or whatever the case may be, get them in touch with us. And we got the best prices out there. I can guarantee you that. And then quick turnaround time, 3 to 4 weeks. I say quick. I mean, quick by the industry standards.
Yeah.
And if you've ever messed with jerseys, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, we try to support the fishermen. You know, we're both the two guys, myself and the other guy that own it. We're both fishermen, and we support, you know, as much as we can on that side of things. So appreciate everybody's support on that too. So, Mr. Frank, have a good night, and I'll be on here watching for a little while.
All right, Tom. Appreciate you jumping on.
See you, brother.
Bye. All right, man. Yeah, I'm trying to keep up with the comments. Yeah, Alex Hall said, remember when spider rigging boomed here, all locals would say those motorized trout lines are going to ruin the lake. Jared had a good point there. Speaking of spawn, do you think that less people fish for super shallow fish on beds now that more people have live scope? I'll be honest, I never go shallower than 4 or 5 feet anymore on the lake I guide on. Yeah, I would say so. People that have forward-facing sonar, they probably don't go up shallow as much as what they'd used to. You know, obviously guiding, you know, people would have like a 12-foot pole from the bank and would catch, you know, a lot of males and stuff like that. And then once the females moved in, would catch one here or there. Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't towards the bank in 4 or 5 feet of water. Now, obviously, my home lake, I will fish 4 or 5 feet of water as much as I can. You know, one of our favorite places is a creek channel. It's about 15, 16 foot. And then the flat will be, you know, anywhere from 5 to 9 foot. Then if you get further up in the creeks, I mean, I had a guy trip a couple years ago. We were in 4 feet of water, just tearing them up, but we were right in the middle of the, really pretty much middle of the lake. I mean, it was a creek channel with flats. And then the middle flat had, you know, 4 or 5 feet of water in it. And we're just going along picking off fish off of the bottom of trees. Guy, first time seeing live scope, just had a ball. He was so ecstatic about it. So it was pretty cool. But yeah, I'd say pretty much most of the people with forward-facing sonar probably don't fish. It's definitely changed their way of fishing. You know, obviously going to be the body of water you're on too. I'd say like the lake, for example, you know, you can catch fish all over the place. But, you know, I think before forward-facing sonar, a lot of people would go up into the creek, shallow water, especially during the tournament times and whenever they had it, April, I think, March or April. But now, you know, I mean, when I won the Crappie Master 2019, it's fishing out there in the middle, timber, close to creek channels. You know, went pre-fishing, went back in the back of the channels. But again, now you can kind of see where the fish are in their stages of the spawn. And then, well, I think Jordan Sanders and a few other guys caught him in like 40 feet of water out in the middle of the lake, pretty much, I guess. Did real good. I can't remember if he won that or if Josh Jones won that one, but just hearing them talk afterwards, yeah, just crazy. Usually, that was winter fishing spots. But again, what we also learned with forward face sonar is, I'm sure a lot of people had that opinion or thought that, but it's kind of proven now. There will be crappie that will go out and spawn in the middle of lakes on timber. I had that last year. Eufaula. I think Crappie Masters, when I caught big fish in the tournament, I had caught, it was probably 20 feet of water. I caught a male off the tree, dropped back in there and caught the female. He was all colored up and she was squirting eggs. And then the big fish of the tournament was out in the middle of the channel in 20 something feet of water, just roaming out there, full of eggs. So, yeah, Alex Hall said he remembers when Spider Riggins got the Grenada, and everybody said that was going to ruin the Grenada. Oh, crap. Back out and get back into this. I think I just lost all my comments on here. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, I just picked it up today. A couple guys here seen them at our last shindig at Cabela's, and we told each other we needed to get the hat. So I'm going to have to figure out how to get comments from my main Facebook page to show on the StreamYard. It says learn more, but I'm not going to hit it till after the stream because I don't want it to end the stream. Gosh dang it. Somebody said something about X-ray with the vest. Again, it should be pretty simple. Any type of electronics that's getting a picture, shooting something out, and I think those fish are feeling it. I think maybe over time they might become accustomed to it. Might be a behavior, but I think it's more instincts, more animal instincts. I mean, I don't think crappie communicate and say, hey, little fry, you got to watch out for these fish that have whiskers, or these dumb bass. You need to stay away from them. I think it's just some kind of instincts, and I think when the forward face sonar's hitting them with the beam, that they realize it doesn't feel natural to them, or maybe it just feels bigger to them than what a prey would be given off. Yeah, Alex Hall makes a good point about forward-facing sonar, and that's what I believe. And it's kind of hypocritical in the bass world that forward-facing sonar has brought in the next generation of fishermen. And realistically, I think as far as fishing, man, I think forward-facing sonar is just going to grow it. I mean, I think there was a pretty good decline in fishing before that. What the heck did that change? And I think with forward face sonar, it's going to bring more younger kids into fishing, and it's going to keep them engaged and pass it down to their children, and really, really help that out. I think Kansas said that they were down. Their fishing license was down the last few years, and it finally went back up this last year. So, might be in relation to it, but that's the other bad thing is I hate seeing is these older guys, well, anybody being so negative about it. I mean, you want kids to get off the couch and go out to the outdoors, but then you tell them, yeah, you can. I want you to go in the outdoors and throw a bait to the bank and reel it in, or drop a jig next to a tree, and maybe get lucky and catch something, but I don't want you to use forward-facing sonar that would make you want to do it more often and really enjoy it. Yeah, Chris Waters was down there during our tournament. Yeah, he caught 10 crappie in 5 days. I mean, I caught quite a few crappie. Just again, I couldn't distinguish the size, so I tried to catch everything I could see. I mean, it didn't help with the wind, but I caught my biggest fish on Saturday with like 30 minutes to go into the wind. And one of the anglers, I think he got top 10. He was in the wind pretty much all day. It looked like just going back and forth out in the middle. But yeah, I agree with you, Alex. I think forward-facing sonar is going to bring so many more people into fishing that wouldn't be fishing before. And then as the cycle goes through the generations, that those people that are really against it, you're always going to have people that just don't like it for whatever reason. But I think it's going to be less and less, and just people will be more accepting that, hey, this is another way of enjoyment of the outdoors to people. I mean, it's the same thing through the hunting revolution, going from regular basic bows to now you got everything and anything, to quick releases on the bows, to sights on rifles, to now you got scopes, and then you get into coyote hunting or hog hunting, and the advancements in night vision capabilities. And I mean, it's everything and anything you can think of. Again, that's the big thing, is it's going to have to teach conservation. Thanks, Jerry. Yeah, I mean, it's Shane. Yes, I do think some old timers are at disadvantage with forward-facing sonar. Really, I think in the tournament world, probably more so than just out fun fishing. I mean, anybody can learn forward-facing sonar to catch fish. I think a lot of it in tournament fishing, a lot has to do with physicality too. I mean, I'm 47, but I got a lot of different problems. And, I think that plays in a factor. And then you throw in all my problems I've had with my boat, motor, all that stuff. Then mentally it wears you down. But, yeah, I mean, to hear these young guys say, man, I'm beat up at the end of the tournament. And I'm like, man, wait till you're my age. And then I see Charlie Bunning out there, and I'm like, gosh dang it, I hope I keep doing what he's doing when I'm his age. So, yeah, I mean, I think in the next generation or two, I think the older gentlemen, that will be the factor, is the physicality of it more than the actual electronics portion. Because, once you get these young guys that have been fishing forward-facing sonar, I mean, 20 years down the road, been using it, it's going to be like, it's going to be like part of them. So it's not going to really be as detrimental to them. But, everything kind of declines as you age. So, definitely plays a factor in it. Yeah, I mean, I could talk on this subject. Again, my opinions are, these guys are griping because, one, they can't afford it. Could be a reason. Two, they're not good at electronics. or 3, they don't want to change. I mean, that's the biggest thing I think is they don't want change. It's the same people that griped about spider rigging, you know. But spider rigging, I think, should have taught a lot of those other people what was going on. You know, spider rigging showed that there was more fish. If they had allowed spider rigging and bass fishing, I think they'd have realized how many big bass lived offshore all throughout the year than what they did now. You know, like pulling crankbaits out there, you know, out in deep water. Even during the bass spawn, you know, I think that would have changed a lot of people's behavior and opinion at those times. And, you know, that's what a lot of those big spider riggers did. They showed the world that, you know, there was a lot more big crappie that lived off the bank year round than what they do. But also, you know, Grenada and stuff like that, I think it showed that there's a lot of crappie that live shallow all year round too. I mean, the misconception, and then of course forward-facing sonar proved it, was, you know, misconception was those crappie at Grenada go spawn and then they go out in deep water and live, and that's not always the case. You still can catch them up shallow pretty much year round. I mean, that's the case at Truman, Eufaula, a lot of those places. I think Texas, that northeast, is just a different beast. I think a lot of those fish will live year round out in deep water. It's just crazy sometimes there. But gosh dang it. But anybody got some questions or any other opinions on the subject, or questions in general? Again, it doesn't have to be just on what I think's ruining crappie fishing, but just to reiterate, I think what's ruining crappie fishing is people in general, if it's even ruining it at all. Obviously, I don't think it's ruining it all. I mean, you're seeing about 5 guides from Grenada alone saying, man, it's getting great. So, I mean, you know, it should still be ruined right now. The lake's been down for 4 or 5 years. You had probably a lot bigger tourist attraction of people fishing since at least probably 2021, 2022, when all those big weights were being caught. Every parking lot was full. I heard Sardis earlier this year was jam-packed full of people. I mean, those lakes should be, if it was the people, they should still be hurting. And it seems like those lakes down there, along with everywhere else, the lakes are just getting better now. And, you know, maybe those floods of 2019 and then into 2020, maybe that kind of hurt the fish population for the next 2 or 3 years. You know, it might have hurt the spawn. Maybe those eggs got left out in deep water, or depending on what lake, if they pulled it, you know, maybe they got left high and dry. You know, that's another thing that a lot of people I don't think considers. I mean, when you're fishing a core lake, you know, the core don't care about what the fish are doing. You know, they're worried about keeping the lake at certain levels. And then, you know, from the north all the way down, you know, a lot of it has to do with the Mississippi River. So if it's flooded, guess what? People are holding their water. They don't care if it's during the crappie spawn. You know, if those crappie laid their eggs and all of a sudden they got to hold the water, and like Tuttle Creek, it was 60 foot high in 2019. I don't know if crappie spawned before it started going up, during, after, or what. You know, I think El Dorado might be a little bit tough. Last year, had some low water, but we were catching fish in June that still had eggs in them. So, you know, could that be hurting the population here in the next couple of years? maybe not. There's just so many other factors. But again, in my opinion only, I think it's the fishermen out there that don't conserve their own, that don't use good judgment on how to conserve fish would be your biggest hurting of fish population outside of, again, environmental, core, and I guess that'd be only two because core mess up spawn, environment mess up spawn. People have been fishing spawn time all throughout there's ever been a crappie. So I think people, even from the bank without forward-facing sonar, man, just use better judgment on how many fish you really need to keep. If you're going to stock up the freezer, I mean, you bought your fishing license. If you can keep, if you catch and keep your limit, I have no problem with that. That's one thing I feel about the guides. I have no problem with guides out there, full-time guides. If they guide 365 days a year, I don't care, because those people that go fish with them, they spent their money to buy a fishing license. They're only out there, they're going to catch, I don't know, some of them probably 50 fish a year, maybe even less, depending on how often they go out. That has no impact when it comes to anything like that. So, I mean, you take all those guide catches and divide it by all their clients, and that's how much you got. But then you got 10 guys over there griping and complaining that Grenada's ruined, that, they've probably caught 2,000 fish in a year or more, and say, well, it's the guide's fault. I mean, I remember some of my clients was saying Tuttle Creek here in Kansas, they used to pull out gunny sacks full of 14 to 16-inch fish. And then they said, I wonder why it's not like that anymore. Well, obviously because you weren't being stewards of conservation, and you're taking out 50 fish a day per person of 14 to 16-inch fish, most likely probably during the spawn. So you just ripped all those future generations out. And, then once you took those out, then you're like, well, let's start taking the 10 to 12 inchers. And you probably affected a little bit. But I still think environmental is the biggest factor. And then core, and then fishermen. But again, that's my opinion. My opinion only. I'll tell you what, if you want to catch some catfish, I'm going to start learning how to guide for catfish. Especially if you don't want a live scope. I really don't want to drill holes in my canvas for rod holders, but I might do it. But if you don't want to book a trip with me, the biologist said that El Dorado has a ton of blue cats, and he recommends keeping your limit. And they just upgraded to 10 fish a person for blue cats. I think you can only have one over 35 inches or something like that. Don't quote me on it. I haven't kept up. They're in Milford, I guess, but I guess the blue cat population is very good on El Dorado right now. So I got 2 tournaments coming up. I got the NCL Championship coming up at the end of this month, and then Crappie Masters Eufaula, and then I'm probably off. I'm off for a while. I'm off until probably May 17th for the crappie, the big bass crappie event. I think I'm going to go with that instead of Wren Lake. Yeah. So I'm almost a month and a half after Eufaula. So I'm going to be out there on the lake. obviously guiding for crappie if you guys want to book a trip, but I'm also going to be trying to learn other species, catfish and stuff like that. So, we catch them crappie fishing. It's a lot of fun, but I think there's a lot of people out there that like to catfish and obviously eat them too. So, um, got to make the people happy. So, if you're wanting to book a trip for catfishing later on, hit me up. I will announce it obviously on my Facebook page when I think I'm confident that I can probably get you guys a limit of blue cats on El Dorado. But again, nothing's ever promised. I mean, you see it down at Grenada. Last couple, probably 2-3 weeks been pretty difficult. And I think a lot of that is a lot of boat pressure, probably. Yeah, Tim, sorry I missed you, man. I sent you an invite, but sounds like it might have been a little bit too late for you. Well, I definitely appreciate everybody that got on, especially the comments. That's what I really wanted, was a lot of these guides to get on, voice their opinion. No, Ryan, you go out and win Darbone, man. I won't be there. Give you guys a break. No, I can't. That'd be 3 tournaments in a row. So Darbone, man, it's a hit or miss for me. I mean, obviously I've done good there, but then I've not done so good there. So I kind of had to pick and choose. 3 tournaments. I've had to help some family out, and obviously, money's still been tight since the whole sponsored debacle. So, yeah, I hate to do it because now I'm probably stuck with the 25th from Grenada, because I don't know if I'll get 5 tournaments in this year for Angler of the Year for Crappie Masters or not. So, but I mean, the good thing too is I get my wife out there that you follow. I can work during Darbone week, make a little bit extra money just in case something else pops up. Sounds to me like my power steering. I believe they got a seal that they're sending. They're going to try that, and hopefully that fixes it. So I'm not spending $1,000 on a new steering kit or whatever it is. So hopefully that'll be like $100 or $200. But Mid Kansas did a pretty good job at reaching out to Sea Star and finding that part. And I got to call them tomorrow, see if it's got it. See if it's in yet or not. But yeah, unfortunately, no Darbone for me. Again, it would have been Darbone, NCL Championship, and Eufaula. So I mean, already I got 2 weeks in a row. So. Yeah, I can't. I mean, hell, Grenada, I went down there for really 1 day of pre-fishing. I got down there the night before, pre-fished 1 day and fished 2 days of tournaments, and I was beat. I mean, of course, it was windy and waves, but man, I used to not be beat that bad. I used to do 3 tournaments in a row multiple times a year, but I definitely wasn't into the tournament shape. So I got to get into that. Keep backing out of this stupid live for the comments. Yeah, again, it's people with or without live scope ruining, might be ruining the sport. It's not forward-facing sonar itself. It's definitely going to be the people using it. So we need to keep trying to stress the conservation of the sport. You don't need 200 fillets at your house, unless you just don't plan on going out the rest of the year. But I hate seeing or hearing about people throwing out a whole bunch of crappie fillets. I mean, they could at least donated something. Here in Kansas, you can donate your fish. You got to fill out a form. So, I know some people they'll catch fish for their family, extended family. That's cool. We all buy a license. We're all allowed to catch here in Kansas, and if there's no creel limit, we're allowed to catch 50 fish a day. I catch 50 fish a day for 365 days a year. Problem is, there's no way I can eat that many. But and then of course the good thing about Kansas, they set a possession limit, so you can't have more than a certain amount in your possession. Obviously, don't listen to me. Go look it up yourself. I can't stand when people. I mean, it's cool people ask a question, but I can't stand when people start giving an answer without the documents behind it. I mean, the Kansas fish regulations is going to be your answer. So look it up. Make sure you see it. So don't quote me on it. It's three or four times the creel limit, I believe. So of the state of Kansas. So it's not Perry or Clinton or El Dorado that have less of a creel per day limit than the state. So it's per the state, which is 50 crappie a day. Times that by 3 or 4, and there you go. So either 150 or 200 crappie you can have in your possession at one time per license holder. So obviously, if you want to keep more of that in your freezer, buy a license for another family member that lives in your household, you'll be good. Let's see. So now I gotta figure this thing out. Well, if there's no more questions, comments, so I don't see it. Oh, it looks like Shane. There's always a discount code on HH rods, but you'll have to go reach and talk to them. So I no longer work for them, even though, as far as I'm concerned, our contract's still valid. But until I can save up some money to talk to a lawyer about that, or might even be too late. I don't know. But no, if you're wanting any type of trolling rod, I do have some for sale at 40% discount. So I still have a few rods and reels from my 5 years of sponsorship that I'm trying to get rid of. So, but no, as far as discount code, you have to go to their Facebook page or talk to one of them or their pro staff members. But besides, most of those war pigs still have my name on it. I'm not associated with them in any way. I think I have 2 or 3 13.5 foots left, and then mid seats, and a couple 12-foot rear seats. But you can private message me, and I'll let you know. Maybe I can sell all the crap I got and talk to a lawyer. And then, of course, I'm sure I'll get a phone call saying that somebody told them and they're griping and complaining. There's Kevin Hicks on there. I know it'd be from you, Kevin, if you tell them. No, I don't know if you jumped on or not. But no, Shane, private message me what you're looking for. I can tell you what I got left over that I'm trying to get rid of. And then I don't know if Kevin still has any of those rods left, but he was selling some other different brands. So hit him up. I think Ozarks and a couple others. Dobbins or something like that. Oh. I don't know what I just did. Nope, hit the wrong button, I guess. Oh, there we go. Laptop's touchscreen. I was looking at my phone and hit the stop cam with my knuckle. No, Shane was asking about HH rods, about discounts. So, but yeah, I sent some back to him. He was threatening to sue me or something crap. I don't remember. I don't know. Pretty disgruntled about the whole situation, but it is what it is. I'll either be able to get money at some point to talk to a lawyer about the situation or not, and you can go on its merry way, but definitely will not support or do anything for HH anymore. Yeah, I don't think you are, Kevin. There's plenty of others out there that I know have already shared it. Good thing about trying to promote sport and be the best guys I can be is I get a lot of phone calls, but it's sad. I mean, it's the same thing. You know, you're starting to see in the bass world a lot of disgruntled people. I'm hoping the National Professional Fishing League kind of calms down a lot of that stuff. It's pretty good. I like seeing that. You know, I'm not against not having forward-facing sonar. I mean, again, I've told a few people if they ban it in the crappie world, I will be drilling holes in my Caymans to put spider rigging gear on and going to work spider rigging. I mean, just is what it is. As long as we all got the same opportunity in a tournament. I mean, there are so many comments on the install my boat from No Limits Rigging. Mainly the 31-second clip that showed the front of my boat with the beat down outdoors mount and my trolling motor with the 2 live scopes on there. That it's just crazy. I mean, people don't understand that I was tournament fishing, and that first year I spent maybe $2,000 on a graph and a live scope, and as a team we won over $30,000 that year. So, you know, at least $15,000 out of the $2,000 I spent. So, I mean, to me, it was a great investment because I definitely wouldn't have won nowhere near that if I didn't have it on there. 2019, I think we showed that you're going to do better with forward-facing sonar. I mean, it's the same thing with any equipment. You know, I really give props to Minn Kota 360 or the Humminbird 360 for the 2018 National Championship. I got that, and my Ultrex put on the Wednesday before the National Championship 2018 on Truman. And between the Ultrex being a lot better than what I had on there and the 360 allowing me to see a lot of underwater structure, you know, I count that as key for finishing third in the national championship. No, Kevin, I won't be there. Like I told Ryan, I said, you guys got lucky. Somebody else can win it. No, I got that. I got the NCL the week after, and then Crop Master you follow the week after that. And I can't afford, and too. Don't really feel like doing 3 weeks in a row anymore. So Eufaula is one of those. Darbone is one of those hit or miss for me. I either do really well or I do about middle of the pack. So financially, right now, my position with helping some family out and having those unexpected things go wrong that I got to pay to fix, that I had to make a choice, and I'm definitely skipping that one because I can have my wife come to Eufaula and come down Friday, and it's only like 4.5 hour drive compared to 9 hours. Yeah, I'll be at Sardis for NCL, and then I'll be at Eufaula for Crappie Masters. So while you guys go in Darbone, good luck. If anything's like Grenada, I think it should be a pretty good showing down there, which is great for the Farmerville town. And looks like now you got at least 2 places to get crawfish. So that's always good. Should be good for competition and maybe even good for pricing. So I don't know what the crawfish are like right now, but I think it was last year it was pretty high price because they had bad weather or low tides or something. But yeah, so I just had to get this off my chest on what I felt was ruining. Actually, I don't take that back. I use that as a catchphrase to get some audience because all these people, naysayers, are saying it's ruining, it's ruined, it's ruined. I don't think anything right now is ruining crappie fishing. But again, if crappie fishing does start getting ruined at a certain lake or anything, it's the people that are ruining it. Dang brain fart. It's somebody help me out on that. Gosh dang it. What? It's K&M. God, I could not think of them. K&M Outdoors, I guess, is serving crawfish now. So haven't seen one of Josh Jones's posts. And he mentioned that I don't know why what it is. What it is. I've eaten crawfish. The other one, I think it's just fine. They're good people too at Rets and Tells, but obviously go to Josh Jones's post. Yeah, you'll see it. He pretty much to me he's bashing Rets, but K&M, they got rid of their sporting goods department and went full on serving food, so they are serving crawfish now at K&M's. So, and per Josh Jones, it's good. So that's always good. And if not, you can always run down to West Monroe. I've eaten there. It's pretty good down there too. But no, definitely if you're down there, Darbone, support the local businesses. Support Rets and K&M. Maybe eat crawfish from Rets one day and K&M the next, and all that. That's one thing I will miss about Darbone. So I don't know if there's not enough people on there. I'll find out if there's any good crawfish places down there by Sardis. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to get off here, and I got some more work to do. So I appreciate it. You guys have a good night. Bye.